Hi, I'm Chris Belather with VK Post, Vintage King's new division specializing in Pro Tools, sound for picture and broadcast equipment. Many of our friends and clients come to us for advice on upgrading to Pro Tools 10, HD Native and HDX. Almost everyone seems to understand that an HDX card has 5 to 7 times the power of an old Pro Tools HD card, and that modern computers are capable of great native performance. But there's a lot of confusion over which plugins work with which system and why AVID has made a transition from the old TDM and RTAS plugins we're all familiar with to the new AAX format. So we've asked AVID's Collier Spreen here to demystify the whys, hows and what ifs of this new plugin format, and he's put together an excellent explanation for us. After you've watched the presentation, you're bound to have some questions about AAX or upgrading your Pro Tools system or plugins, so please don't hesitate to give us a call at Vintage King or send us an email today.
I want to welcome everybody to the webinar today, brought to you by Vintage King LA. My name is Collier Spreen. I'm a pro audio application specialist for AVID. Today, the subject is AAX plugins. What does it mean to you, and what does it mean anyway? So, without further ado, let's dive in, see what this is all about. So, what is AAX? AAX is AVID Audio Extension. You're also going to hear me say AAX, which for me is a lot easier to say. AAX is a new unified plugin format that enables better workflows and true sonic parity when sharing sessions between DSP or hardware-accelerated systems and native or host-based Pro Tools rigs. AAX plugs sound better because they work better. It's a significantly more modern and accessible platform which simplifies the process of developing DSP-based plugins for Pro Tools. Up-to-date code for better audio and better features. Hey, who doesn't want that, right? AAX DSP and AAX native development is absolutely parallel. The DSP and host versions have identical signal paths. They're both 32-bit float audio with 1500 dB plus of dynamic range. So, the DSP versions that run on the cards and the host versions or the native versions are the exact same plugin. The only difference is where they run, on the CPU or on the DSP card. Optimized efficiency. Now, all this is about is having more plugins run on the same amount of horsepower. So with Pro Tools 10, HD, Native HDX, you can run way more plugs than ever. And by the way, if you have any questions, please click on the link on your screen or send an email to chrisb@vintageking.com. All right, back to the program. TDM was created in the early 90s, which in my math is about 20 plus years ago. So TDM, 56K assembly language was how they wrote the TDM plugins. Apparently a relatively rare skill set. So rare I've never heard of it. 24-bit fixed point environment, which means you've got 24-bit audio path, and when you hit 0, it's clipped. In fact, in some of the plugins, it was pretty easy to clip even with levels close to -3 dB full scale. So pretty dangerous stuff. And then RTAS came along a little bit later and was grafted onto the TDM spec. The code was C or C++, but it was a 32-bit floating point environment, so the audio is quite a bit better, and obviously dynamic range, 32-bit float, is quite a bit higher. So the RTAS and TDM plugs sounded very different, had better dynamic range, but very different quality than the TDM. So matching the sound you got with a compressor on TDM and then switching over to RTAS was a headache. It should have been identical, but it wasn't because the software, the code underneath the hood was completely different. So getting those to match was a nightmare. Why AAX? Well, for one, true 64-bit application support. The next major release of Pro Tools is going to be a 64-bit application, so we need all those plugins to already be 64-bit, which AAX is. So Pro Tools 10 is the stepping stone that gets us there. Massive headroom, no clipping even with large EQ boosts. That's that 1500 plus dB dynamic range in action. Also, no more DSP-only plugins. In the past, Revibe, Impact Reverb 1, and a few other plugins were TDM only, so you had to have the hardware to run them. Well, now all AAX plugins, including Revibe, Impact Reverb 1, etc., all AVID AAX plugins are DSP, native, and audio suite across the board. The AAX format also supports double precision 64-bit audio paths. So the developer can actually write his code so that you're dealing with 64-bit audio. And the last thing is that the AAX format enables future workflows. One line of additional code adds the audio suite functionality to an existing native plugin. They're thinking ahead. And again, if you have any questions, click on the link on your screen or send an email to chrisb@vintageking.com. And moving along. So, AAX, what's new? Well, obviously it's all new, but you can see up here. Here's some of the major players. Sony Oxford stuff, Isotope RX2. If you're doing sound design or dialogue cleanup, the RX2 is your go-to box. The Brainworks from Plugin Alliance, the Rock Rack, great amp simulator. Blue Cat Frequency Analyst, that is an amazing plugin to watch. Softtube's Grand Channel from Summit, an amazing channel strip. In fact, there's quite a few new channel strip plugins coming out, so that's very exciting. SE's Source Connect, if you guys use that for ISDN or distant recording. TC's LM Radar style metering. PSP Bus Presser. PSP is another company that a lot of Pro Tools guys haven't heard of because they've been writing 64-bit plugins for VST and AU format. Well, now that the SDK, or the Software Developers Kit, is available for AAX and has been available for over a year now, there's companies coming out of the woodwork with bundles of great sounding, super cool effects, virtual instrument plugins, and hardware emulators that are just second to none. Rob Pappin's Blade, he's got a whole bevy of plugins available. And then Colin McDowell's McDSP down in the bottom right corner. So there's a lot of new players in the plugin game and a lot of old ones that are upping their game to AAX. Because as we all know, 64-bit Pro Tools is just around the corner. So stay tuned. Okay, plugin support. Plugin compatibility with Pro Tools 10. Forget about all the pretty pictures of plugins all around there and trying to identify them. The meat of this little segment is compatibility. You want to upgrade to 10, but you've been holding off because you're not really sure, or there's a lot of misinformation or flat wrong information out there about what happens, what plugins do and don't work with Pro Tools 10, whether you're on TDM or HDX. Well, listen, I'm going to clear this up for you right now. Let's say you've got an HD5 rig, got a substantial investment, a lot of plugins, don't want to lose them, have old jobs, new jobs, you're in the middle of jobs, you want all the features of Pro Tools 10, but you don't want a plug-in nightmare. So with your TDM rig, you upgrade to Pro Tools 10 software. What happens? You continue to use your TDM plugs. You continue to use your RTAS plugs. You continue to use your audio suite plugins. No change. You get to add the AAX native plugs to your palette. So it's a bonus. You don't lose anything. You gain the AAX native plugs. Well, what don't you get? What's the drawback? Well, you're still working on a 24-bit mixer. You're still using the older horsepower cards, not as many tracks. Now, you don't get the AAX DSP because the TDM cards don't have the proper chips to run it, but you do get the AAX native versions, so there's no real loss at all. All right, let's go over to the other column. Say you've got Pro Tools 9 on an HD3 and you need more tracks, you need more horsepower, you just need more, and you want to be ready for Pro Tools 64-bit when it drops. So you're going to roll in your HD3 rig and your 192 and trade in and get an HDIO, go all fresh, brand new. So you've got an HDX rig now, single card, 256 tracks, Pro Tools 10, all the goodness, right? What do you get? Obviously, you get the AAX DSP capability because you have the HDX card. You also have the AAX native to run on the host. If you say, oh, I want to go home, run it on my laptop, not take my HDX cards, same plugins, they'll just run on the host instead of the DSP. So no problem there. You continue to use your RTAS plugs, which is great. And same with Audio Suite. Any Audio Suite plugins, whether they're based on a native AAX native or RTAS, those will work too. The only plugins that won't run on an HDX rig are the TDM plugs because the chips aren't there. The HDX card has much more modern chips, so it can't run that old 56K plugin language. So, and again, you don't really lose it because there are RTAS versions of 95% of all the TDM plugs out there. In fact, The ubiquitous Waves plugins, for every TDM plugin that Waves makes, there's an RTAS version of it. So in reality, you wouldn't lose any plugins. If you're a heavy Waves user, fine, use the RTAS versions. Modern CPUs are so efficient with host-based processing, whether it's RTAS or AAX native, you're not going to notice any extra latency or inefficiencies involved in using the RTAS version. In fact, they're 32-bit float versus 24-bit fixed, so they're actually going to sound better. So there you have it. There's the TDM scenario and the HDX scenario. If you upgrade from wherever you are now to Pro Tools 10, those are your sort of two avenues of solutions. And obviously HDX leads us into 64-bit land. So any other questions specifically about this or anything else? Take a snapshot of the screen, hold on to it if you have any questions, or click the link on your screen, or send an email to chrisb@vintageking.com, and we'll see what we can't do. Okay, plugin optimization. A single HDX card contains 18 identical Texas Instruments DSP chips, each capable of powering a large number of plugins. A large as in hundreds. The Shark chips on the TDM cards were pretty anemic in comparison, but then again, like we said, that's 15, 20-year-old technology. Let's take a look at an HDX session that's got a bunch of plugins on it. Let's take a look. We're starting with 102 instances of heat. You've got 39 1176s, 27 tracks with impact on it, 29 tracks with our new channel strip on it, 88 EQ3s, 80 Dyne 3s, 159 single band EQs, and 160 instances of transient control. Now this is all in one session running on one card. Fairly impressive for the amount of plugins if you look at the count there. So let's talk about a real world situation, maybe a music session that you're running sort of in a more sensible layout. So here's a stereo music session, HDX, one HDX card at 48K. What do we have? We have 200 tracks, each track with a channel strip on it with heat instantiated. So 200 instances of heat, 200 tracks with channel strip, 400 auxes, 8 stereo reverbs and returns, 8 delay lines with returns, 16 stereo submixes, each with impact, and a stereo master fader with Maxim. Okay? 200 tracks, 400 auxes, 16 submixes. Probably one of those is your stereo program master. So that's a lot of stuff. Not bad for one HDX card. So, but what about surround? You know, more voices, more stuff. So let's look at a 5.1 film post session. Let's give it an HDX2. So I got 2 HDX cards at 48K, right? So film post, usually a lot of tracks. Let's just say 500 tracks. How about 500 audio tracks, each with EQ3 and Dyne 3, so 500 each of those, 1,000 aux sends, 1,000, 4 5.1 surround reverbs, 4 stereo delay lines and returns, 8 5.1 surround stems and a print master, each of those 8 with channel strip and impact. Remember, those are 5.1 plugins. So fairly impressive track count, fairly impressive DSP count, and there's still some little left over. So I'm not sure if I want to do 500 channel track mixes, but I have done some in the mid 350s, and that's a lot. Okay, so there's another big thing, sort of miscommunication or misunderstanding about how this works. HDX does not require any of the DSP chip resources to power the voice engine. The voice engine and the DSP horsepower engine are separate. There's a dedicated FPGA using that deals with voices to free up DSP power for the mixer and plugins. In short, tracks and voices don't use DSP. Only plugins use DSP. Now, a mixer, the Pro Tools mixer, is just a giant plugin. So let's just say a 128 channel mixer uses 75% of one DSP chip because it's just a big plugin. So I'm using 128 voices, but it only uses 75% of one DSP chip. So you're not doing the whole shuffle of oh man, I don't need as many voices, but I need more DSP chips. So you're not doing that whole shuffle between voice power and DSP power. So that's another great thing about HDX and Pro Tools 10. So third-party AAX plugins. There's a few of them that are out there. Massenburg, Eventide, Sony Oxford, Slate Digital, FabFilter, Metric Halo, DUI, Softtube, Cytomix The Glue, great SSL style bus limiter, really cool plug. Eventide's SP 2016, great reverb. The Overloud Reverb 2 reverb, amp simulation stuff. Dave Hill's Phoenix 2. I'll tell you, a combination of heat with Phoenix 2 on it, and you'll never want to look at an analog tape deck again. So there's a ton of third-party plugins. These are all out right now. These are all available right now for you to work with. So let's talk about what's available right now for AAX DSP in just the Dynamics land. So these will be the AAX plugs that work strictly off the HDX card. Metric Halo channel strip, there's LA2As, there's the TubeTech channel strip, Metric Halo multiband dynamics, there's the ubiquitous Fairchild, the purple, the Joe Meek stuff, the TubeTech limiter, SMAC, our channel strip, multiband expander, Impact. There's a ton of plugins already out that are ready to go. The Dynamite, both gate and compressor from Valley People, which is also Softtube. So there's quite a bit of stuff out there already. Now let's look at EQs. Again, I'm not going to try and name all these, but you know, for AAX DSP running EQs, channel strip, Metric Halo, Sonux, DUI, Softtube, Tonelux, Joe Meek, TubeTech, the Trident A80 EQ, the Summit EQ. There's a ton of stuff. TubeTech, I name it all. Anyway, okay, so AAX DSP harmonic, real tape saturation, tape emulation, the raw from Dave Hill. You know, just take a look at all the stuff. The Oxford Inflator, amp simulators, character from Metric Halo, heat, Softtube saturator, acoustic feedback. There's a ton of stuff. And these are all plugins that are out right now running on the DSP. All right, AAX DSP delay lines. Tube delay, our new mod delay 3, which is really nice. The clarity and the adjustability, it's both mono and stereo. Real tape, our real tape suite, real tape delay, the Telray variable delay, Mooger Fugger, say that 3 times. Time adjuster, the tube delay. There's a ton of great stuff. And modulation-wise, same thing. Mooger Fugger, Sci-Fi. There's our real tape flanger, low-pass filter, the Vos stuff, reverb, spring reverb, and now we've got our Revibe 2, Reverb 1. You can see new Deverb up there, the whole new user interface. Sounds much better. Halo Verb from Metric Halo, and more coming. Okay, let's go to AAX native, so host-based. Dynamics, now it starts to get thick. Elijah, the Cush, Eventide, Vertigo. The center section there is all FabFilter stuff. Remember that name. The compressor, the gate, the limiter, SPL. If you go to the Plugin Alliance webpage, you're going to see some of those plugins are actually free, and many of them have 15 to 30-day demos. Okay. AAX native EQs. Same thing. FabFilter, Brainworks from Plugin Alliance, Mag from Plugin Alliance, Blue Cat, Line EQ, another Brainworks EQ, Elijah from Plugin Alliance, SPL, Bass Ranger, Free Ranger, Full Ranger. A couple of those, again, they're either demos of them or some of those are free. The Pass EQ, amazing EQ. You got to check them out. And they're available now. They're not, you know, this is not future stuff. This is what's out there and shipping today. AAX native harmonic, Brainworks, the Rock Rack, great amp simulator. The FabFilter Saturn. If you want to crush, kill, destroy some audio and really mess some things up, that's a killer plugin to do it. The SPL Vitalizer. I used to use the hardware unit. The software unit's great. The SPL 2 and 2 processor. Brainworks, the BX Saturator. Amazing plugins, and again, they're out now. AAX native delay, FabFilter Timeless 2, an insanely cool delay with all sorts of modulation capabilities and ducking and gating and repeating. The PSP we were talking about earlier, they have their 608 delay. Imagine 8 Lexicon PCM42s in one box, and you're sort of close. So pretty amazing delay plugins with lots more coming. AAX native modulation. You've got the FabFilter 1, which is really a monophonic synthesizer. FabFilter Volcano, which is a filter, a programmable dynamic filter that can follow and create certain effects. Blue Cat's phasers and flangers and choruses. FabFilter's Twin 2, which is a polyphonic synthesizer and filter. You can run audio through it or just use it as a synth. All right, on to AAX native reverbs. If anybody ever used the SP 2016 way back when, that's Eventide's version of it up there in the top left. There's Softube's TSAR1, another great sounding reverb. Overloud's Reverb 2. If anybody's ever used a 480, you know what a 480 is? That thing gives it a run for its money. DUI has a nice new reverb out. Eventide's new Black Hole reverb. And then SPL's Moverb, a simple dial it up reverb, go to town, and you're done. Lots of great stuff. Lots of great offerings out there. You got to check them out. Okay, AAX native sound field. We've got metering from TC Electronics, that radar style, which is really cool to look at. Mono Stereo 5.1. We've got the binaural spatializer from Longcat. Really cool 3D effects out of a mono or stereo track. And one of my favorite name of a plugin company, they make the Spanner. Very cool spatializer. It does some very interesting automated pan moves. You can see the little man, the ultimate man of Da Vinci back there. That's a 5.1 setup. It's called Spanner, and it's made by a company called Maggot. All right, AAX native. Now we're talking instruments. Currently available from Sugar Bytes and Rob Papin and FabFilter. There's a ton of stuff that's coming. There's not a whole lot of instruments out there. I know there's some third-party instruments manufacturers that are busy turning their 64-bit instruments into AAX instruments. So there's going to be a ton of that. Now, the great thing about 64-bit applications is the 4 gig RAM limit is gone. So you want to boot up a 4 gig piano sample or a 10 gig drum kit sample within 64-bit application? No problem. All right. The latest trend has been channel strips. AVID has one, TubeTech has one, and the efficiency is the problem here because some of these channel strips or multi-processor plugins take a lot of time. The TubeTech, it's got its program EQ, mid EQ, and a compressor. Takes 37 samples, which is nothing for all that processing going on. That's an extremely efficient plugin to have that much going on. It's also got a wet-dry mix in there. Okay, another one is from Summit. It's called the Grand Channel. It's got their full-range equalizer, it's got their TLA 100 limiter, and it's got a saturator built into it too. 38 samples of delay, which is nothing. You throw up some other sort of name brand channel strips or sort of custom designed by hero engineer plugin manufacturers, and they take hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of samples of delay. Now, the Metric Halo channel strip, by the way, who was the first company to ever come out with a channel strip plugin? You're looking at it. Metric Halo, 9 samples. You've got dynamics, filters, compressor, level, 6-band EQ. What more do you want? You've obviously got some RTA stuff in there too. Now, our AVID channel strip based on the System 5 console takes a whole 10 samples. Same thing. You've got level, EQ, filters, and dynamics all in one plugin. So why not just put one of those on every channel of your session? And if you don't use it, get rid of it. But then you got your Swiss Army knife on every channel like a regular console, like an old analog console. Okay, so here's the question of the hour. The waves question. I get this a lot. People want to know, what's Waves going to do? What are we going to do about Waves? Because a lot of people have invested in Waves plugins. They're either heavy users or they own the Mercury bundle and they just don't want to throw them away because they've heard that Waves isn't making AAX plugs. Well, we've got the real information here, and I went to their website, wavesupport.net, to figure out what it was. And here it is. As of June 2012, Waves version 8 and 9 plugins are supported by Pro Tools 10 via RTAS, Audio Suite, and TDM. AAX is not officially supported this time. AAX Native will be supported at a later date. There are no plans for AAX DSP support. Well, sounds sort of non-committal to me. To me, this is my interpretation, it says AAX Native will be supported at a later date. So they're coming. AAX Native is coming out. They're not telling us whether it's going to be the end of the year or second quarter next year. Who knows? So, but they're coming because they've said it right here. Now, the second non-committal was there are no plans for AAX DSP support. Well, anybody ever make plans and have to change those plans, or anybody not plan to do something yet they still had to do it? Plans change all the time. So who knows? The great thing is Waves, all of their plugins that are TDM are also RTAS. So if you're making that leap from TDM to HDX, no problem. Use your RTAS plugins. You're not going to lose your plugs. And you're not going to notice a difference running it on the host natively versus running it on the card because the horsepower is so great on these new CPUs. So I hope that answers the Waves question. But you can go to wavesupport.net and check out their news. That's where they post all their updates. There's no secret information. They're very good about just being upfront and saying, look, here's what works and here's what doesn't. So I hope that answers the Waves question, makes everybody feel comfortable of, hey, it's, I can keep working. So available AAX plugins. There are nearly 200, actually there's more now, individual AAX plugins and growing from AVID and third-party partners. This little presentation was put together a few weeks back, and quite a bit of individual plugins have come out since then. So there's actually more than 200 available right now. But just take a look at that list. Eventide, DUI, AVID, Blue Cat, Metric Halo, BX Digital, Elijah, Sonix, Crane Song, Softtube, Isotope. Isotope only has one plugin done, RX2. Their whole suite is amazing. Mag Audio 1, Maggot, just the one. SPL 13. So they're moving along. Okay, AAX plugins shipping. AVID Channel Strip, Sans Amp. I'll just let you look at this stuff go by. This is what's out and shipping right now. Make sure you take a screenshot of all these at the very end of this. I'll stop it for a second so you can get a screenshot of all these names. There's some pretty spectacular plugin bundles out there and obviously growing. But most of these manufacturers have demos where you can download them for free. Some of them you don't even need an iLock. But 14 or 30-day demos pretty much tells you everything you need to know about a certain plugin bundle. So take a screenshot right here and go check these websites out. And again, those are plugins that are shipping now that if you've got Pro Tools 10, you can boot them up today. So quite a bit of good stuff out there and a lot more coming. Coming soon. Plugin Alliance, BX, SPL, MAG, McDSP, the first 12, we have them. That's they were 2 or 3 weeks ago, they were coming and now they're here. Wave Arts, Eventide, the H3000 factory. I'm an old H3000 guy from the hardware days, and that's my go-to. Man, the reverb in there is great. The delays, the chorusing, the pitch change, everything. Nayrink, their VMON and Soundcode stuff's coming out. Isotope, the rest of their suite. Ozone 5, Nectar, ton of great stuff. Massenburg Design Works, his EQ dynamics are coming. In fact, George sent us a quote that says the MDW EQ5 AAX version will be available shortly from AVID. The DSP implementation is second to none with the lowest measured noise and artifact using all double precision math. In other words, 64-bit EQ. Very nice. Okay, so What do we think of all this? A lot of great plugins out there and a lot of great plugins coming. What's not to love, right? Conclusions. So, AAX is the present and 64-bit future of Pro Tools plugins. Works with Pro Tools 10 and beyond. AAX is a true 64-bit plugin format capable of 64-bit audio paths. Not much more to say about that. 64-bit audio. Identical signal path, whether the plugin is DSP-based or host-based. So they're identical whether it's running on the card or on your laptop. The majority of AAX plugs will both support DSP and native running. This way, whether you're on an HDX system or a native rig and have to go to an HDX or vice versa, your plugs will run in either place identically with no sonic difference. And again, all AVID AAX plugins will support both DSP native and audio suite, and hopefully all manufacturers will follow. More AVID and third-party plugs can share DSP chips, share and share alike. And obviously, the more AVID and third-party plugins can share the same DSP resources, the more plugins you can have in a single session, and that's the whole point. AAX enables more efficient session sharing and collaboration. Not only DSP chips, but session to session, your plugin should translate whether you're going from an HDX rig to a native rig or home on your laptop. There's no reason why you can't have the same plugins on every session. And along those same lines, no loss of plugs, whether you're on HDX, HD Native, or Pro Tools 10 on a laptop. You shouldn't be limited by what hardware you do or don't have, or your collaborators, or the studio, or your home rig. You should be able to run your same plugins across the board as far as whatever Pro Tools rig you have. The ever-growing palette of colors and tools for your mixes. I've shown you hardware emulators, channel strips, reverbs, EQs, amp simulators, all from the standard let's make it sound like an 1176 or a Fairchild limiter, all the way out to some of the wackiest virtual instruments and virtual reverbs and space emulators and 3D spatializers, all sorts of stuff out there. There's a lot of plugins available and a ton more coming. So with that said, I'm going to throw a little video your way. I'm sure you're tired of hearing my voice. Colin McDowell of McDSP fame put a little video together to sort of describe what he's doing and what's going on with McDSP. So check this out and we'll be back.
Hi, I'm Colin McDowell. I work at McDSP. McDSP. We make plugins for Pro Tools. Recently, you may become aware that AVID's made a new platform called HDX. What does that mean? Well, for us, because we make plugins for Pro Tools, that means it's a new format called AAX, AVID Audio Extensions, I think. In any event, we're doing it. Why is that cool? Well, let me tell you why. First thing is 64-bit. 64-bit compiled like application thing? No. I'm talking 64-bit audio path. That makes it more awesomer, more awesomer, because that's an audio path that has more bits in it, and the more bits means better. That's what we can do, because this new hardware platform from AVID, it can do that, so that's what we're going to do. We're also doing other stuff, like, oh, for you TDM people out there, they're maybe a little bit tired of that 0 dB ceiling that you're always hitting. Well, with this new floating point system from AVID, we're going to let our plugins go crazy and go way above 0 dB, within reason. So that way, if you're really close to clipping, well, you won't. Except at the master fader, where you should probably fix that. But that's just me. Okay. What else? Hey, we got other cool features like real-time control smoothing. What the heck does that mean, Colin? You're going engineering on me. Hey, check it out. Analog gear, when you turn that dial, that parameter is being updated in real time. As if like with every sample, there's something happening behind the scenes. And now with this new AAX system, that's what we're doing too. Why? Because it's awesome. And the last point, this is all going to be available for free to version 5 customers. That means if you own a McDSP version 5 native product, we'll give you AAX native format support for free. If you own a McDSP version 5 HD product, we'll give you AAX DSP and AAX native format support for free. All right, let's sum up. It's awesomer, it's AAX, and we're doing it. I'm Colin McDowell. I work for McDSP. You can go to McDSP.com for more information. I like my haircut, and you should too. See ya.
Well, that was an informative and extremely normal message from Colin. I want to thank you for watching from AVID and from Vintage King.